The Magnetar UDP800 enters the media player arena as a compelling option for enthusiasts seeking an all-inclusive solution for their entertainment needs. Designed with an impressive array of features and promising high-quality performance, it aims to elevate the home theater experience. In this review, we will delve into its strengths and weaknesses across various criteria to determine whether it lives up to its potential. This is my review of the Magnetar UDP 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray Player. Let's discuss. For this video, I'll be using an Epson LS12000B on the dynamic video setting. My receiver is an Anthem MRX 720 in a 7.2.4 configuration with 2 SVS subwoofers, and my speakers are 3 Arendal 1723 THX Monitor S speakers for my LCR, 2 1961 towers for my rear surrounds, 2 1961 bookshelf speakers for my front height Atmos, and the remaining 4 speakers are Polk in-ceiling and in-walls for the surrounds and rear height Atmos, and I'm using various Emotiva amps for amplification. With an appealing and modern aesthetic, the Magnetar UDP800 boasts a robust set of features that seem poised to enhance any home theater setup. However, as with any product, there are areas where it falls short. In this comprehensive review, we'll evaluate its setup and connection capabilities, design, disc playback, file playback, network playback, settings, as well as its overall performance. Additionally, we'll draw comparisons to the Oppo UDP203 to provide context for potential buyers. High points: impressive array of features catering to both audio and video enthusiasts, a well-constructed design that exudes a premium feel, intuitive user interface and customizable settings for a personalized experience, stellar playback performance delivering both SDR and HDR content with exceptional clarity. Low points: limited availability of certain popular streaming apps on the Smart OS. Price point may be steep for budget-conscious consumers. No HDMI in. Slightly slower functionality than Oppo players. Setup and connection. The initial setup of the Magnetar UDP800 doesn't demand a degree of technical proficiency. However, I can't say the same about the remote, but more on that later. The connectivity options are all familiar, which include HDMI main, HDMI for audio only, USB, coax, optical, RS-232, balanced XLR, unbalanced RCA, and gigabit Ethernet, providing versatility in linking the media player to various devices and sources, as well as a NAS or media stored on your local network. Design and features. The design of the Magnetar UDP800 is undoubtedly a highlight, with a sleek and modern appearance that seamlessly complements any entertainment setup. Its robust build quality and minimalistic front panel contribute to an air of sophistication. The inclusion of multiple USB ports, HDMI outputs, and an optical audio output demonstrate its commitment to catering to a diverse array of user needs and legacy equipment options. The UDP800 provides a brushed aluminum front panel and a solid, highly rigid metal chassis to greatly improve audio and video performance, with a distinctive double-layered chassis structure thickened to 1.6 millimeters and a 3 millimeter steel plate under its base, reducing vibration and generated noise during playback. When it comes to mounting in a rack, however, there is no rack mount solutions as of yet. However, Magnetar has told me that they are working with Middle Atlantic to design a custom rack mount solution. Settings. The Magnetar UDP800 is a spitting image of the now defunct flagship Oppo 203 and 205 players in that it does not support access to streaming services and apps. And while this might be non-negotiable for some, I personally would rather opt for top-notch audio, video, disc, network, and file playback functionality over convoluted streaming app services. As for the user interface, again, it's pretty much an exact replica of the Oppo UDP203 and 205 players and is generally intuitive, while the settings offer customization options for audio and video to fine-tune preferences and settings for an optimal viewing experience. Performance. This is where the Magnetar UDP800 truly shines when it comes to playback performance. Whether handling SDR or HDR content, the media player showcases exceptional image and sound quality. Colors are vibrant, contrasts are sharp, and details are vividly rendered, contributing to a captivating cinematic experience. Quite frankly, the UDP800 has one of the best pristine video images I've ever seen for a 4K Blu-ray player. Video quality. The UDP800 boasts reference image quality and supports the industry standard and fan favorite Dolby Vision, as well as a less accessible HDR10+. Now, I tested many of 2023's fantastic demo-worthy movies for HDR and Dolby Vision across different flavors of playback with disc playback, file playback, and network playback via DLNA. Movies like Super Mario Bros. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 showcase some of the year's biggest blockbuster movies with some of the best color profiles, dynamic range, specular highlights, and HDR, and the UDP800 replicates every pixel perfectly, as one would expect from a high-end 4K Blu-ray player. Pound for pound, the UDP800 can hold its weight and is on par with my Oppo UDP203 for picture quality. The UDP800 can also convert low-resolution video sources up to 4K 50 or 60 Hz at 3840 by 2160 resolution. Real quick guys, if you're enjoying this video, then why don't you do me a solid and hit the subscribe button if you're not already, and hit the bell notification so you don't miss when I upload new videos. And if you like some extra content and behind the scenes content, or if you want the chance to have a private monthly video chat with me and my Patreons, then why don't you head on over to my Patreon page, check it out, and consider subscribing for a low monthly fee. Audio quality. Nothing new to write home here, as the Magnetar's audio quality holds up just like the Oppo 203. You're going to get great audio separation with impeccable dynamics.
Roman, get out of here, it's a trap.
I'm not going to try and sit here and come up with fancy words and adjectives to describe the audio on the UDP800 because simply, the audio performs just as it should for a premium 4K Blu-ray player, especially when you consider the price tag, which I'm definitely going to harp on here in a minute. Disc playback. As far as disc playback, no issues here. Discs load in a reasonable amount of time, and I experienced no issues with the likes of newer 4K Ultra HD discs like Fast and Furious 10, the Super Mario Bros., and Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. The video and picture quality is top-notch on the UDP800. File playback. File playback is also quick and seamless. Just stick an external hard drive or USB drive into either of the UDP800's two USB ports, and you're off. Watching the same movies via file playback, you get the same high quality detail visually, as well as premium fidelity sonically with the audio. Hard drives up to 16 terabytes are supported, with direct access from your computer or NAS through your local network using DLNA or SMB protocols for a better multimedia life. Network playback. Network playback on the UDP800, however, doesn't seem to be as seamless as my Oppo 203. Pulling content from my Plex server via DLNA on the UDP800 usually resulted on the screen menu freezing up. Now, this could be due to the size of my library and the UDP800 trying to load all my movie files. However, if I try to access my movies by alphabetical order, I had no issues. So it would seem if you have a larger library of movies that you want to access over DLNA, you might want to just go directly to alphabetical selection instead of trying to access all your movies at once, because you're probably going to run into issues. Oppo UDP203 comparison. Drawing comparisons to the Oppo UDP203, a now defunct yet respected and beloved player in the market, the Magnetar UDP800 comes close in terms of being a viable doppelganger with its nearly identical user interface, settings, and DLNA options. But beyond that, the UDP800 falls just shy of succeeding the Oppo 203 as a new reigning 4K Blu-ray player champ. At least for me. Both devices offer impressive playback quality and a range of features. However, the Oppo 203's HDMI in functionality, which lets you connect another source and use the Oppo's video processing, as well as overall quicker response time and input versatility options, give the Oppo 203 a slight edge in terms of user experience and functionality. Price. Alright, time to address the elephant in the room. Magnetar's staggering price tag. Oh, that's right. If you're looking to snag a UDP800 for your theater, it will set you back a whopping $1,600. That's almost the same price for an Oppo 203 and 205 combined when they were first released. The 203 costing $549 and the 205 costing $1,299 at launch. Now, I'm not sure why or how Magnetar is justifying this price tag for a seemingly carbon copy of an Oppo 203 with less features. And that's not even Magnetar's cheapest 4K Blu-ray player. Alright, let's take a look at the remote. So I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but I just wanted to give you a comparison between the Magnetar remote that I have here and the Oppo remote that I have on the left. So I'm not the biggest fan of the Magnetar remote, and it's not a bad remote. I just feel like for most people it's a little bit more convoluted as opposed to the Oppo remote. I feel like the Oppo remote is more streamlined and the buttons are bigger. Everything's just very well placed. The Magnetar, I just feel like there's too many options on here that most people aren't going to use, and for most people who are probably buying this, it might be a little bit overwhelming and confusing. I mean, it's a little bit overwhelming for me. Most of the buttons on here I would never use. Obviously, you're going to be using these buttons here pretty regularly, these buttons. But this stuff over here, up here, you know, the numbers. I also don't like that the numbers are way up here. Also, you know, the numbers are up at the top on the Oppo, so I don't like that either. But, you know, I do think it's good that they do give you pretty much, it looks like you can pretty much control every single aspect in the menus with this remote, so that's good. However, like I said, most people aren't going to be using most of these buttons during playback, but it's nice that, you know, you do have the option. I guess it's better to have it than to not have it. But if you look at the size, so the Magnetar is a little bit more, it's a little bit longer, it's not as thick, and it's a little bit skinnier. The Oppo is wider, it's shorter, but it's very thick. So if you look at the comparison, and the Oppo is obviously, you know, it's bigger, so it's going to be a little bit more heavier. They're almost about the same weight. I would say that the Oppo is heavier though. And the Magnetar is a very good weight too. It's not cheap, doesn't feel like it's cheaply made. But again, I just feel like the Oppo remote is a little bit more streamlined, and you know, personally, I prefer that more. All right, so something else that's worth mentioning that the Magnetar does not offer is a remote app on your phone that you can control over the network. So if you have an Oppo 103, 203, then you probably already know about this. Now the 203, I was not able to get the app to work on my phone, but I can show you what it's like on the 103. So this is the app on the 103, and as you can see here, you've got basically the same exact configuration on the remote as you do on the phone app. And you've also got your dedicated buttons. You got your Netflix, your Vudu, and then we got your number pad. So it looks pretty much exactly like it does on the physical remote, but this is just another avenue of functionality and versatility that Oppo players give you. Now, I don't know what the ratio is of people who have Oppo players that are actually using an app on their phone. I have used this previously before I had my Harmony Elite, and it actually did come in handy to be able to pull up, you know, your app very quickly and control it over the network. But, you know, I'm using a Harmony app, so I don't need this. But for people who like don't have a universal remote, or they don't want to actually use the physical remote, you have a whole nother option where you can just pull out your phone and control your player over the network. And, you know, the Magnetar doesn't offer that. It's probably not a big deal, but, you know, for $1,600, I'm surprised that they don't have an app that you can use over the network. But I just wanted to show you guys that as well, to show you just, you know, comparison between the Oppo and the Magnetar. In conclusion, the Magnetar UDP800 earns its place as a worthy contender in the media player landscape. Its blend of striking design, extensive features, and outstanding playback performance make it a compelling option for enthusiasts seeking top-tier home theater experiences. While the remote may seem intimidating for some and lacks a few features in comparison to Oppo players, its overall appeal and quality easily position it as a recommended choice for those looking to elevate their entertainment setup to new heights, as long as you have deep enough pockets to snag one. Whether indulging in SDR or HDR playback, the Magnetar UDP800 consistently delivers on its promise of exceptional visual and audio immersion. But again, and I will keep harping on this, the only real blemish on an exceptional 4K Blu-ray player is that price tag, man. So That is our review of the Magnetar UDP800 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray Player. That is going to bring us to Query of the Week. This week's query is, what are your thoughts on the Magnetar UDP800 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray Player? Do you have one? If you do, how do you like it? Are you planning on purchasing one after this review? Do you think $1,600 for a 4K Blu-ray player in 2023 is just absolutely absurd? If you have the money, are you gonna buy one? Let me know down in the comments. As always, no matter where you're at on your home theater journey, make sure you enjoy it. For Haterade Cowboy Cinema, I'm Haterade Cowboy, and I'll see you guys in the next video.